Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to give you 3 tips for a more powerful forehand. So tip number 1 relates to your upper body coiling. So on both of your ground strokes, on the forehand and the backhand side, you gain so much power from the initial turn that you make as you're preparing to hit the ball. And this is called the unit turn. So tip number 1 for you guys is to keep your non-hitting hand on the throat of the racket as you make your unit turn. Keeping the non-hitting hand on the throat of the racket when you initiate your unit turn helps you to coil your upper body, coil your shoulders into this loaded position here. So you can see that I'm nice and coiled with my upper body. I'm rotated to the side, and then as I want to start my swing forward and accelerate into contact, I can then release all of that stored energy from this point, really accelerate into my forehand side. So you could initiate your unit turn without this non-dominant hand on the racket. However, doing this feels very unstable. I feel like I'm not loading and coiling my upper body to the extent that I could do if I had this hand on there. You can see the difference in intensity as well just by when I'm doing this compared to this. And you won't find any professional tennis player on the tour that hits a forehand without their non-hitting hand involved in the stroke, because good players know the importance of the non-hitting hand in not only helping you to find that coil position here. This non-hitting hand also helps with spacing between your body and your racket on the take back, and it also just feels so much more natural to have that non-hitting hand there. So you guys might not know if you are using your non-hitting hand properly on your forehand side, so I recommend you guys to go out and film yourself from the back view. If you're coiling really well and using your non-hitting hand really well on your forehand side, if you place the camera behind you and you initiate your unit turn, you should be able to see your chest from the camera angle. So that shows that you've got into a really nice coil here. You've coiled your shoulders, and then you can really release all of that energy into your forehand as you come into contact. So that's a really good way to test yourself to see if you are coiling enough. So guys, tip number 2 for you to increase your power on your forehand side is to use your legs in the forehand as much as you can. Most of the power on both your forehand and your backhand side will come from the ground, and it will come from the use of your kinetic chain. So the kinetic chain means that you're first of all using the ground to gain some energy, to gain some power. From there you are loading your legs, and then as you are initiating the forward swing, you then use your legs to rotate into the shot and to then bring all of that power up through the legs into your core, and then into your arm, into your hand, and then into your racket. If you currently don't use your legs on your forehand side, then you're really losing out on so much power potential. So I'd really urge you guys to go out and try and learn how to use your legs effectively in the different stances. So in the neutral stance, semi-open, and the open stance forehand. So using your body weight and weight transfer in each of the different stances looks a little bit different, and I'll go through that now quickly. So in the neutral stance, where you're a bit more closed off, the weight comes from your back leg and transfers into your front leg. And you'll often see players transfer from their back leg, front leg, and then this back leg rotates around into the core as they hit. So a split step, turn into the ball, loading my legs. I'm feeling a pull coming from my back hip and my back leg. I'm then shifting my weight onto my front leg as I come into contact, and as I'm following through, that back leg comes round naturally into the core. It's not a forced thing, it's just the natural weight transfer. My body weight is moving into the shot naturally. This style of forehand is obviously used when you have more time. You're maybe inside the core a bit more, your opponent's giving you a short ball that you have time on to really load and attack into the shot. But obviously not all shots are going to be like that. You might be using the neutral stance forehand if your opponent's hit a really hard shot to you and you don't have much time to adjust and take a different stance. So you might simply, on that type of shot, simply just block the ball back, and there will still be a little bit of hip rotation from this back leg, but you might not be able to really fully rotate that back leg around into the shot. But as long as you're loading and you're firing from that hip, you know that you're using your legs to the most efficient way possible. So on the semi-open forehand as well, you could have a shot where you're able to load here and then rotate forward. However, on some more difficult balls, you might not be able to have that same explosive transfer forward. So therefore, you can simply just rotate through with that back leg. So it starts more coiled. So my foot is pointing to this side. And then as I come through, the back leg and the toe will be pointing towards the court. So as long as you're understanding that rotation from your hip and rotation from your core, then you're doing the best you can to really fire as much power into the forehand as possible. And that's the same on that open stance forehand as well. Because the open stance forehand is more of a vertical shot, it's very hard to be able to kind of get that body weight forward when you're hitting an open stance forehand. Instead, you might find you hit and rotate to the side, so doing that mogul step. So if you have a tough ball out wide, you might hit me here, and then that's how you're transferring your body weight. You're still getting that rotation from that hip. So guys, the last tip that I have for you is to relax as you hit your forehand. And now I know this is easier said than done a lot of the time, because a lot of the time you do really get tight and you can hold your racket tight. If you're in a match situation, it's really tough to kind of let go and be free on those forehands like you can do in practice. However, one tip that could really help you guys to avoid this or to loosen up is to firstly breathe out as you hit. Now I know that a lot of people don't do this and they kind of hold their breath as they hit, and then this doesn't allow the muscles in your arm, the muscles in your whole body to really relax and work as efficiently as they can. So this breathing out as you hit allows your muscles to relax and allows them to work as efficiently as they can. It also helps with range of motion in your arm, range of motion in your legs as well. I'm sure you guys have all played when you're feeling really tight and your range of motion comes really short, and you might find you hit too close to your body. You're not following through and extending into the shot as you would in practice. A really key thing is to try and breathe out, and to also work on the mental side of the game too, if this is something that you struggle with. However, there's obviously a risk here of becoming too loose and therefore losing control on your forehand side. And so we obviously don't want this to happen. So try not to get too loose so that you're kind of just releasing the racket and you're holding the racket really loose so that you don't have any racket head control. You want to be holding the racket around 5 out of 10 in terms of tightness. You want your arm and your elbow on your wrist to be in that correct position as you come into contact. You don't want to be too loose with the wrist here and allowing it to flop all over the place, because then all of your shots will end up on the back fence. And guys, it's important to note that this will take practice. So it's important in every practice session that you're doing, you're breathing out and you're finding that nice relaxed and loose forehand to really try and find the rhythm and to try and get that into your muscle memory, so that when you go into matches, you're more likely to be able to breathe out and find that nice relaxed forehand, because a loose and relaxed arm really helps with racket head speed production. You can go out and try it yourself. If you grip your racket really tight and you find that your arm's super tight, your racket head speed won't be as quick as if you're loose with the arm and you're breathing out as you hit. So guys, I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please give this video a like and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more tennis videos like this one to come. And guys, I'll see you in my next video.